Hi everyone, this is my third YouTube video, and I thought I would dive into Vulvodynia a bit more and IC, and talk about how it affects your mental health, how it affected my mental health, and a resource or two that I have on my notes. I did my introduction. I did a more in-depth talk or conversation about my life and where I'm at in my journey. And as you know, I have vulvodynia and I have IC. And I got diagnosed with vulvodynia about a year ago. I just saw my doctor a couple weeks ago, actually, for a yearly checkup, and he said that he notices a big change in me compared to a year ago. And we were talking, and he wants me to continue to do my holistic stuff that I'm doing. And he gave me some options that if I decide I want to do something more Western medicine related, that I can do that. But it felt nice to be heard by my doctor and to know that he was really listening to my needs. He asked me, how are you feeling? What do you think? What is something you feel would help? And he was very interested in the program I'm in, and he was asking a lot of questions. And I'm not going to say that any of my doctors were terrible, because I think, as I said before in my other videos, and as you'll probably read in other resources, not all medical places know a lot about IC, and not every doctor, especially if they don't specialize in that, are going to know what to do when you have IC or vulvodynia. And I feel like I've had some hard situations going to doctors where I didn't feel heard, where I felt like there wasn't much they could really do. And is that necessarily their fault? Not really, but it does leave people feeling hopeless. So no, if you've had a terrible doctor, I'm really sorry. You're not the only one to have those experiences. Or if you've had decent doctors, but they just weren't able to help you further with your conditions, know that there is still hope, and that's unfortunately kind of normal. Depending on where you live and what resources you have. I live in a small town, so usually places are about 20 minutes to an hour away. Not complaining though, I like living in a small town, but I know that everybody's different and every place you live is different depending on what resources you have. But it does kind of suck in a way, because you do get limited to certain medical places that you can go and everything, especially like with your insurance. But anyway, so I'm going to tell you the definition of vulvodynia. Vulvodynia is a long-lasting pain of the vulva not caused by infection or a skin issue. So vulvodynia can look different for women. It can look different for each of us. For me, I noticed that I got a lot of burning, irritation, and uncomfortable feeling when I would wear like tight clothes or certain clothes that just agitated it. Even underwear, unfortunately, bothers it. It has gotten better, but it is not 100%. I did estrogen cream, which for a lot of women can help. Unfortunately, my body is just so sensitive. I don't think it worked for me. I tried several different types of stuff, the ingredients that are in it. But I do suggest talking to your doctor and asking them if they can change the ingredients, because I've also seen women who have had issues and then switched and then it was better for them. Every woman has a different experience, so my experience is not going to be the same as yours is. And that's okay. And I don't recommend getting the surgery. My doctor told me he doesn't really like to have the surgery done if he absolutely doesn't have to. And a lot of doctors, I feel like, are slowly getting away from surgery. I know women who've had surgery and feel the same after. I'm sure for some women it might help depending on what's going on down there, because it can be very complex depending on what, what's going on, pretty much. But yeah, so that was kind of my journey. I tried lidocaine down there. Didn't notice a difference. The best things I've noticed that have helped me so far is breathing, nervous system work, making sure I'm hydrated, which is pretty much not necessarily helpful for vulvodynia, but just as a whole down there, because I feel like my pelvic floor, my vulvodynia, and my IC, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, is kind of all together, all related, all tight, stressed out, flared. So drinking water kind of helps relax the bladder a bit more, which I think relaxes my whole body. And I'm still continuing to decide what I'd like to do next with my vulvodynia. I'm kind of just taking one day at a time. And like I said in my other videos, I'm just having small wins. So I'm going to give you the definition of IC, which is interstitial cystitis. Is a chronic condition that causes pain and discomfort in the bladder. So like I said, it's an inflamed bladder. They don't really know what causes it. People have theories, and you can look those theories up, but I highly recommend you be careful about where you get your sources from. I don't suggest looking on Reddit. That'll take you down a dark path. I know a lot of people in the program that I'm in who've talked about how they would just doom scroll through Reddit and it would make them feel worse. I actually was in a Facebook group and they had stuff talking about IC, and there was some positive stuff on there, but there was a lot of negative things on there where women said there's no hope, there's nothing you can do. And with me already being in a very low mental state at the time, reading that was just like, there's no use in trying. Like, you just kind of feel like giving up because every option you've went down or done or tried, it just didn't work. So how can this affect your mental health? Like I talked about in the second video, I was saying about how it made me really anxious, really depressed. I kind of lost interest in doing things. Everything just felt like a hassle. It felt really hard to do. Oh, excuse me. I'm kind of tired today. It's definitely a Monday for me. But yeah, like that's kind of like the main things. But I think even now in my journey of IC and vulvodynia and just health in general, I still struggle. I feel like sometimes too that people that go through this kind of have similar personality traits, which is fascinating, and not always, but like I notice a lot of women that I know, we all struggle with like catastrophic thoughts. We struggle with people-pleasing, perfectionism, and we don't all look the same, obviously. We're all from different walks of life, different places, but we all kind of have the same form of anxiety, depression, and different things going on. That probably comes with chronic pain as well. But I've noticed that like for me, it's like people-pleasing, it's being afraid to speak up about how I feel, being honest with people. I guess I'm always just in a panic. I think trauma probably caused that. And if you don't believe the trauma causes that, I highly suggest you look into that because it really does affect you. You wouldn't think that things that happened to you years ago would affect you now, but they do. They really do. But I would say it can be a very big impact on your mental health. So, where should you start? So I know I told you about my story is when I kept going to the doctor thinking I had a UTI and it came back fine. And then they finally referred me to the urologist, which is the one that diagnosed me. And years later, I had my cystoscopy. Don't quote me on saying that the right way. By the way, I am not a doctor. I am not licensed. I am just telling you my experience of IC and vulvodynia and my mental health. But anyway, so please don't take everything I say like, oh my gosh, she's acting like she's like a medical doctor. I'm not. But I have experience in dealing with chronic pain, and I've seen women who have gotten relief from the same things I've had, and just like anything, like back pain, migraine, sinus issues, all of it gone. Different for each person, but kind of around the same idea. But where should you start? So I guess it would depend. Let's say, for example, you were like me and you keep getting pain, frequency, urgency, maybe some vulvodynia pain. I would suggest go to your primary doctor, talk to them about your concerns, do the the urine sample for a UTI to rule it out. Make sure you go to your gynecologist too, because I've had vaginal infections, which is normal sometimes for women if their pH gets off balance. It's not that you're gross or yucky, it's just sometimes the reality of what's going on down there. I think sometimes a lot of people assume that women are dirty, because their pH is off, or they get like bacterial vaginosis or yeast infections. But anyway, I highly recommend you look into those as well, because I've also had those. Anyway, once you rule those out, I do suggest going to a urologist. But what I wish I would have done then that I learned now, and that's okay, it's how you learn, it's how you go forward, I would make sure you look up, is this urologist specializing in this? What are the reviews of this person? Do I have more options other than just this one person? So do your research. Make sure you look up what you have, what you could possibly think you have. But don't go down that rabbit hole either. Don't do what I do and like, am I dying? Like, I feel like being a person that overthinks a lot, I tend to overthink everything from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. And sometimes you feel like you're dying. But you're not dying. If you have vulvodynia and IC, it sucks. It really does. But things can get better. But just know, yes, it's important to go to your doctor. Make sure you're getting your checkups. Make sure you're making sure pretty much your body is healthy. Yes, I'm not saying to not go get checked, but know that you're not dying. And it's okay to worry, but don't let it rule your life. But yes, make sure you do research and you review things before you just dive right into, oh, I'm going to this urologist and this urologist only, because that can kind of make you feel even more alone and less like you can advocate for yourself. But yeah, I would say start there. But don't panic like I did. I highly suggest you breathe and try to remain calm. And I know that's easier said than done. I've always been that person that's like, you're telling me to be calm, but I don't feel like being calm. But it really does help you to just kind of breathe and take a moment. And know that you're not broken. This isn't your fault. It's nothing that you could have done differently. This is out of your control. But I will say, you can take control back of your body. Your nervous system is really out of whack when you're going through these sort of things. If it's not like necessarily medically related and it's more nervous system related, it's your body trying to protect you. So it's not something, like I said, that you did wrong necessarily. It's more just your body kind of going in this mode of like survival, pretty much. But yeah, I would start with that. And then I would also start looking into your nervous system. I wanted to add that the group I'm in, the Road to Remission, I suggest you joining if you feel you need even extra support. It does cost money, but it is worth it. It's a big investment, but it's the best thing I've ever done, like I mentioned in my other videos. And this is not like I'm being paid to promote it. Clearly, I'm not a professional, but I have experience, like I said, and I know from myself being in the program since February of this year, almost going on a year next year. Crazy. Like I said before, it just goes so fast. But I highly recommend you add Callie. I can't say her last name good, so I'm just going to spell it to you. But it's Callie, C-A-L-L-I-E, and then the last name I have a hard time pronouncing. Sorry, Callie, if you see this. Krajcir, registered dietitian, RD. You can find her on Facebook. I will in the future try to put it in my bio possibly, or in my next video, maybe I'll add her TikTok and the group that we're in, and her email, because I didn't really write that down. So one thing at a time though, right? Like slowly. But yeah, I highly suggest you look up the doctors, see who kind of matches you the best. There's even websites that you can go on to help you find a decent doctor, urologist, urogynecologist. Like I said, rule out vaginal infections, rule out the UTI. Make sure you're drinking water. I know not everyone likes water, so I even have the circles that you can get at Walmart, and they're not too bad. I say they don't last as long if you're constantly working and drinking all day long, but if you're just at home or your job's more like office related, I think these are a good thing to buy because you can get different flavors. I'm going to be using it probably for a while just because I like it and it lasts me a good bit, and they have really good flavors. Like fruit punch is my favorite, and it's healthy. But there's so many different alternatives that you can get anywhere, and any kind of cup, obviously. But I highly suggest you're at least having 40 to 60 ounces of water a day, and start small and build your way up, because I know how hard it is to drink water. Now, I have a book that I would like to show you, and then once again, none of this is sponsored, just me having some tools in my toolkit, feeling happy that I have a toolkit now, not just kind of, randomly hoping that I'll find something great. But this is the book I was telling you about with Nicole Sachs. It's called Mind Your Body. It has, let me see here. Give me a second. And you can order this anywhere. I think I ordered it on Amazon. Oh, and by the way, you can also download the Libby app, which is a library. And if you already have your library card, I think you can also get that virtually in your local library. And you can find like books like this. And if you don't want to buy it, that's just a suggestion. I think there's other apps that you can go on that you can just rent, or not rent, but like temporarily read the book and then obviously give it back to the library. I think I said that wrong, but it's okay. But there is 3 parts to this book, and we read it actually in our book club with Callie, and we do different books. I'll have to show you my other book that I read that's about the nervous system. I need to reread it though, because it's a lot of material at once, and I tend to be the person that tries to do too much at one time. But yeah, so Mind Your Body is an amazing book. Nicole Sachs also has a podcast that you can listen to. I need to actually listen the whole way through her podcast. I struggle. I have ADHD, which probably doesn't help. And it was also later diagnosed, but that's a story for another day as well. But anyway, so I highly suggest you find this book and you buy it, or you download like a library app and just read it that way. There may be a waiting list depending on how popular the book is, but if you don't mind waiting, I highly suggest getting the book. I'm on like chapter 10 or something, like the 3rd part, and I'm on talking about like the self-compassion that you need to have for yourself. And I think this has been my biggest battle, is having self-compassion. And I think that's why I still have some of my nervous system issues, because my body is just trying to protect me. And I think being on constant edge my whole life, it's been difficult to really like navigate. But that's all I have for today. I'm not sure what I'm going to do in my next video, but I highly suggest that you read my book. If you go to my TikTok, Landy Landis, I think that's what it is. If not, I'll try to mention it in my next video. Please do. Please continue to watch my videos. Please subscribe. Please like, comment if you've ever dealt with this, or if you have it. Please share. And if no one watches this, that's okay. I have nothing to lose by doing this, other than hopefully bringing joy or hope, or maybe even information that people didn't know. I really hope that I'm helping someone. And please be kind. I haven't had anyone be mean or comment or say anything, obviously, but always spread kindness, compassion, and love. And if you have nothing nice to say, I always like that saying, don't say anything at all, even though it's hard sometimes. I know from experience. But we're on this journey together. Know you're not alone. And if you ever need me, please don't be afraid to reach out. And one more thing, once again, not promoted, but I am also writing another book, and it's a poetry book. And like I said in my other video, for a long time, I was embarrassed to even do stuff like this because I was afraid that no one was going to watch it. I was afraid people were going to make fun of me. I was scared to put myself out there, but I'm glad I did, because even if I'm never famous, or I'm never like getting a lot of followers or subscribers, it still means the world to me that I can tell you my story, and I can do this to motivate myself to keep trying to follow my dreams, because I think it's important to value yourself, love yourself, and push yourself to do things. Getting out of your comfort zone. There's always going to be people who criticize you. There's always going to be those critical thoughts, but you can't let that win. You can't let those people win. You just got to keep going. So as I say, surviving and thriving. Have a good day, everyone.